By 1922, the U.S. economy would start a period of amazing growth that would come to be known as the Roaring Twenties. That year, the Lincoln Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C., and 18-year-old Ralph Samuelson would ride the world's first water skis. And on June 29th of 1922, Judd and Eva gave birth to George Bird in Marshall, Texas.
I was born June the 29th, 1922, on a little farm right out of Quanah, Texas. Only it was a big farm then, little one now. Stayed out there until I was about 5 years old, I think. Not sure about that, when we moved into Quanah. And that's when the rest of my growing up took place in Quanah.
3 years later, just before the World's Fair would open in Chicago, Judson Carl was born on September 15th, 1925. And just over a year later, on February 10th, 1927, Garland Harold was born.
Okay, my name is Garland Walker, and I was born in 1927 in Quanah, Texas.
In 1927, Pan American Airlines was incorporated, and Charles Lindbergh flew the Spirit of St. Louis from New York to Paris, 3,610 miles, in that scrappy looking airplane. And it was also the year that the Walker family traveled a distance, about 3 miles, from their farm in Marshall into the town of Quanah.
Lived out in the country. We went to a country school called Marshall. And then from there we moved into town. And eventually my dad had a cafe, and all 7 of us had to help. And I remember many times that I went with my dad to open up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
First place I remember living was there in Quanah, and that old house. I don't know if some of the others you talked to have already talked about that old house, and it was let's see, one, two. It was a 4-room house, had no running water, no bathroom. In fact, it wasn't a bath. You took a bath in a number 3 wash tub, and I was always the third one to get a bath because George would bathe first, and then Mother would bathe Carl, and then I'd always cry when she bathed me because Carl usually wet in the water.
It was a small shotgun type house. Had a living room, a dining room combination when you walked in. Walked on through into the kitchen, and then that was it. And on the other side, there was 2 bedrooms up front, a bath, and then a bedroom at the back. The bedroom at the back, that was Mother and Dad's. The front bedroom was my 2 sisters, Maxine, Geneva, and then in the middle one, we had 1 bed. Carl and Garland and I slept in that bed. I don't remember where later on, that was when I was growing up. I don't remember where Lloyd and Rayford slept. I imagine probably Lloyd slept in Mother and Dad's room. I don't know about Rayford. I don't know if he got any sleep.
Quanah was a very small town in Texas, and at that time, I don't know if it maybe was 6,000 there, and they had several churches, and we lived within a block of like a park, public park. And it's those days we didn't have a car, so we always had to walk to school and to the cafe.
By now, Maxine, 11 years old, and Geneva, 7, and George, 5, began to take on personalities of their own.
Well, Maxine was a high-tempered, and when she was young, she was a big fat girl. I mean, she was big, and always had her hair just so. It was very good at keeping herself up, you know. And she and Geneva used to set the rest of the girls, the girls that run wild, they'd set their hair for 'em.
Maxine was the oldest, and she liked to be the boss. And when she was home, when we were all growing up, she was very, very particular. As I said before, the house was small, but when she came in, she wanted all shoes up out of the front room. She wanted that house straight. But she was also real good to help any one of us that needed help. And of course, the older we got, the closer we got. And we did a lot of things together.
Geneva and I were not sisters, we were good friends. And we did a lot of things that we enjoyed doing together. And it seemed like at chores at home, Geneva would help Mother with the outside, and I would work inside like churning. I liked to do that because I could read while I was churning. I never did try to milk the cow, but I think Geneva did. And George was the one that was always kind of puny, and so he got out of doing a lot of outside chores.
George had asthma, and we used to laugh because we used to think he was Mother and Daddy's pet. When we'd have to pick cotton, he couldn't go because he'd have asthma and have an asthma spell, so he'd have to stay home. But that's when he learned to cook. He'd help Mother in the house, and he'd help Mother cook.
By 1930, the Great Depression began, and Judd's father, Robert Walker, lost his leg in a train wreck. Judd went to work at his father's cafe to support the family, and everyone else pitched in to help make ends meet.
Of course, Mother and Dad were married just before the Great Depression, and most of my brothers and sisters were born before the Depression and so lived through the Depression. They didn't have a lot in terms of material goods, but we never went hungry. And I can't think of any situation or set of circumstances that was so bad that we didn't get through it with smiles and with love.
Of course, we didn't have running water in that house. We had a cistern right out the back door, and a bore well, they call it, about a 4-inch well on the other corner outside the house. So any water had to be drawn. But to go to use the toilet, you had to walk across neighbor's backyard to get to the toilet. And one thing I remember about that no grass, and nobody encouraged any grass because that meant it took water, because it cost money, that water, and that's something people didn't have, was any money.
But when we were growing up, we only had 2 bedrooms. And the bedroom we slept in had 2 beds, and it was just enough room between the 2 beds for a chair. Maxie and I slept on one bed, and George and Carl slept on the other bed. And I guess, I don't know where Carlin slept.
Well, that was the main thing, was to take care of that cow. We had a little old barn. I used to think how big it was back there, because the cow pen wasn't much bigger than this room, but it seemed like a rodeo back then. And we'd take the cow, and I'd take the cow down to we had a vacant lot down half a block from us, and take the cow down there and stake her out and let her eat the grass all day. I had to take the cow down and bring her back.
But it was a good, happy home. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have hardly any money. But we didn't realize we were poor because we had so much love. We always had plenty to eat.
And Carl and I used to, the people across the street from us, and we used to, they didn't have running water either. In a house 2 blocks from there had a water well, and we'd go, you let that rope down, bring it up, and they give us, I think it was 2 cents, a penny apiece, which was, we was rolling in money because we was making that every day. And I still got a scar, and let's see, that'd have to be over 65 years, where I was lifting that up, and Carl and I got into a scuffle, and that rope slipped, and I was trying to grab it, and it run across my arm there.
We didn't have much. We were poor. But fortunately, in a small town like that, and during the Depression, everybody else was too. And there was always a sense of pride there, always. We never acted like we was poor, because comparatively speaking, we wasn't. We just went with what we had when we had something.
We didn't have a lot of things to play with. They made rubber guns, they made stilts, they walked on stilts a lot. We had swings.
I'd get up and meet the train. I had a paper route, and the train come through at 2:30 in the morning, and they threw the papers off at the depot, and I'd be there and roll the papers and deliver them on my bicycle, And then I had, when I finished that, I had 2 service stations that I swept the driveways off. And I got a nickel each driveway. And then after I got them swept off, I had a job at a grocery store. And then I'd work at the grocery store until time for school, and then go to school. So, but that's with everybody worked all the time, I mean, I can't remember any sitting around unemployed.
Although we never went hungry, never. We always had plenty to eat.